Well, hello there. Welcome to our brand new technique of the month walkthrough. We're going to be doing the waterfall pour technique this month in June. I'm very excited about it. It's one of my favorite techniques. I've done a lot of them. I've done a couple demos of them, but every time I do one, I always am very excited to see what happens. It's always a really, really fun technique. And uh, the results can be quite interesting and often very different from one painting to the next. So I am very excited to walk you through the whole process tonight. I've got a handout for you that you can download after we're done here with our live, and I'll walk you through the whole thing, and then I'll do a demo for you, and then you can see what it looks like in person. Welcome everybody who has joined us so far. Carla is here, Pat, hello Monique, and Donna has joined us. Awesome. So I'm sure some more members will be joining us as we progress through our live stream here tonight. And Susan has just joined us. Welcome, Susan. So I'm excited about this one. It's going to be really fun. As you can see, I've kind of got the wide screen, the big wide shot, because I have a lot to show you. I kind of needed to zoom back with the camera. So, and I'm going to start with a couple of examples of what the waterfall pour looks like. It's basically a variation of a ring pour or a straight pour. Either one of those will work. But the big difference is we're elevating one end of our canvas or pouring surface, and the paint kind of streams down that angled surface and creates a very interesting look. So the three paintings right behind me are all waterfall pours, and they are all quite different. So and they're the one right behind me, directly behind me. This one is more of a standard waterfall pour. Actually, it's a little bit different. I'll get to that one in a second. All three of these are a little bit different. But the one right down here, the greenish one, is actually, it's a waterfall pour, but I incorporated a cloud mixture. So it's kind of like a waterfall cloud pour. So that's one variation you can do for a cloud pour. The one right behind me, this one is more of a standard one, but I poured down one corner of the canvas, and it kind of poured down in a diagonal direction. So I'll show you how to set that up. It's a little bit different. And then the one right behind me over here on my left, your right, that is a split cup waterfall pour. So that one is also a variation of a standard waterfall pour. The demo I'm going to be doing tonight is just going to be a standard waterfall pour. But then next week in our Painting Night Live, I'll do some variations, somewhat like some of the ones behind me, of different ways you can do the waterfall pour to mix it up, incorporate maybe a split cup or pour from a diagonal, or even maybe we'll do a cloud mix, or maybe a double cup pour, which is another way to do it, just having two. It's kind of like a multi-ring pour. You have two layered cups of paint, and you just pour kind of very close together. You can get a lot more interesting composition, and it offers a lot more color choices as well. So, and by the way, any questions you might have throughout the live here, go ahead and throw them in the comments. I did something a little different with my monitor. Normally I have it's like a regular monitor, kind of a widescreen monitor, but I turned it upright, and then I flipped the picture. So it looks really weird to me right now. Everything looks normal, but it's just this big tall screen. So it's going to take a little getting used to, but I wanted to get it out of the camera shot. So it's over here on the side. It's just going to take me a little time to get used to this weird kind of different orientation, but I kind of like it this way. It kind of keeps it away from the painting, and it opens up my table a little bit more. So I think I'll keep it that way for now, and we'll try. So all right, so welcome. Anne has joined us. Fantastic. And I'm sure more members will be stopping by as we keep going here. And the other thing I wanted to point out is I'm going to be demonstrating some more on my tabletop for this particular technique, since there's a lot of kind of tricky things we have to angle our canvas and stuff. I'm going to show you a bunch of different ways to do that. We'll be talking about a whole bunch of things. So I have a printout for you. It's the Waterfall Pour technique overview or a walkthrough. And I'll have this PDF in the membership when we're done here tonight. It's basically just an overview of the different steps you kind of go through for this particular technique. Just kind of a reminder. And there are two formulas that you could use, or there's many more that you could use, but two that I like to use most often. One is just the regular easy formula, the 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part paint formula, the very standard formula. The other one is if you want to minimize the cells, which can be very cool with this particular technique, and I'll probably demonstrate that next week as well in our variations, you can use a different formula, and that's the DecoArt formula. So that recipe I use, let me pull it over here, the DecoArt pouring medium, and you can find this at Michael's. I think they sell this at Hobby Lobby also. I'm sure you can get it at a lot of different places. It's a pretty nice pouring medium. I've used it quite a bit. It's more inexpensive than the Liquitex or the Golden. It's not quite as high quality, but it works really well for certain techniques and certain mixing formulas. So I like to use this for a formula that kind of minimizes the cells. So the way I mix that one is 2 parts of the DecoArt, 1 part paint, and then a little bit of water just to get the proper consistency. This is pretty much the standard consistency, the slight mound or the small mound consistency. And that can vary. It can be a little thicker, a little thinner. You don't have to be super, super precise with the consistency for this particular technique. But any kind of like a slight mound, small mound, and you'll be in pretty good shape. I just would make sure all your paints in one particular painting are the same consistency. But so that's another thing you could try out is the DecoArt pouring medium. And we'll talk more about this one next week. I'll do a demo using this particular formula. But tonight I'm just going to be using the easy formula, just the 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part paint, and just kind of the standard stuff. So, and Pat is asking, let me bring this up. Tried Waterfall Pour with glue pouring medium and silicone, all metallic paints, DecoArt Americana, and they didn't get any cells. What happened? Well, did you torch that painting after you were done, Pat? That's like a really, really important step. If you didn't torch it, the torch brings the silicone to life in the glue formula. And that's another fun way to do it as well, using the glue mixture, the glue formula, and put a little bit of silicone or the coconut oil in a couple of your colors or all your colors. And then you have to torch that. And then the cells should spring to life. So, and then Pat is saying, yes, I did. Well, I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure what happened though, Pat. Sometimes it could be the thinness of your paint. Normally when I'm doing the glue, the glue medium, you want a little bit more paint so you don't overstretch it. If you overstretch it too much, it can be difficult to get those cells to kind of pop to life. So maybe we'll take a look at that next week as well. That might be a fun technique also to do. So that'll be a fun week. We'll give it a shot maybe next week, Pat. I don't really have any answers except that sometimes they just don't work. So, and that's happened to me many times. You mix everything correctly. It's all the same consistency, but sometimes you just get a clunker. So, and the best thing to do is just, either scrape it off or put it aside and just try again. So I'm not exactly sure why that didn't work, Pat, but next week we'll try one out and see what happens. So, all right. Cool. Well, let me show you a couple other examples of the waterfall pours before we get going. So I'm going to flip the camera over here. and go to my top view camera. And here is, hopefully that will be nice and clear for you in a second. But here is another one. And this is a fun one. I like this one a lot. I think this was a split cup. I had blues and blues on one side of a cup. I had kind of golds and so I think this was golds and coppers and black on one side, blues and black on another side. You can get some very interesting effects and designs and patterns, especially using like a split cup. But just a regular standard waterfall pour can be very fun. And all of them can be quite different, which I really like. I don't think I've ever had two of them that are, exactly the same, even though the process is pretty much identical. The tilting system is a little bit different, the way we tilt a waterfall pour, and I'll go through that tonight. But you can get some very interesting, cool results. I really like this painting a lot. So let me take this one away. I'll show you two more. Now this one I did right here. This is a little more of a standard waterfall pour. I did this one last year during Halloween time. This is kind of a Halloween one. I used a lot of dark colors. There's some color shift paints in this one. So it might be hard to see with the camera, but if you tilt it just the right way, you can see some color shift things happening. It's easier probably to see that in person, but this is a little bit more of a standard type of pour. Now the waterfall pour is also known as like a wing pour or an angel wing pour, because it can kind of resemble wings when you pour the paint puddle down the center. I didn't do a lot of tilting with this one, so it kind of kept that wing shape a little bit. So this is kind of a fun one. I have more of these. I just wasn't able to find them all. A lot of them are packed away somewhere, and I just haven't unboxed all of them yet. But I found these few, and then the next one is maybe one of my favorites. So this is another example. And finally, this is the third, or in the final example, is for a waterfall pour. This one I like quite a bit because I did a little more stretching on this one. And you can really get a very unique, interesting design. I love the composition that I was able to achieve with this, this painting. It has all these striations and, all these awesome lines running through, but I just love this kind of S shape going throughout. And it does kind of look similar to like a ring pour. This one is kind of minimal on cells, but this was a Floetrol recipe. But I just really like, the composition you're able to get with the waterfall pour. So those are some examples of the waterfall pour. We'll see what we get tonight, and I'm excited to show you. And then you can give them a shot, give it a try, and see what you can come up with. So I'm going to flip back here quickly. Actually, I'll leave it here for a moment, perhaps. Let me pull up my canvas. So I've prepped 16 by 20. That's what we're going to work with tonight. This is just a regular 16 by 20 canvas. I'm going to flip it over here. I've put tape on the back. So I just taped out the stretcher bar. And then I've added my cup hooks. And when I do waterfall pours, I like to use the larger cup hooks. I'll show you which one these are. These are the 1.5-inch cup hooks, and they're quite large. These are pretty big, and I like to use these because it gets the canvas off of the table more, which gives you more clearance when we're tilting and putting our canvas on an angle. So I like these bigger ones. You could also use like the big push pins. These work well. So I use either the big push pins or the great big cup hooks, the 1.5-inch type. And you'll see why I use these larger ones in a second. So I've got that prepped and it's ready to go. And so I'm going to just flip this back over a second. So let's see, I think it would be better if I flipped back to my main camera. So here's the canvas. It's just a standard canvas, but you can see how high it is up off of my table. And that's because with the waterfall pour, we're going to be tilting it. We start with a tilted canvas so the paint can stream down the canvas as we're pouring it out of the cup. So there are a few different ways you can achieve this tilting. The way I like to do it most often is just to hold it with my left hand, and I'll pour with my right hand, and I can see the paint streaming down the center. And as the paint is moving down, I will slowly lower the canvas until it's about almost to the bottom, and then I will put the canvas flat so I don't have a lot of paint running off the end. That's one way to do it. Normally, when I'm doing a demo on camera, I can't do it that way because my camera is over here, and you wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing. So normally when I'm filming one of these, I'll hold it up with my right hand and then pour with my left hand. It's a little more awkward for me. But I'm able to capture it on the camera. But normally if I'm just doing this for myself, I'm not doing a demo, I would be holding it with my left hand and then pouring with my right hand, which is my dominant hand. And it's really easy. Now that can be a little tricky. So there are some other ways we can go about achieving that tilt. So you could just use some cups like this. These are just kind of some medium-sized cups. You could set those down, and then you could put your cup hooks right on the cups like this, and then now you have a nice tilted canvas. This also works great if you're going to be doing using like 2 cups to pour with. You could do a kiss pour or a double cup pour, or just 2 layered cups and create 2 streams of paint running down your canvas. That's kind of a fun technique as well. But you have something in both hands, so you have to have your canvas tilted like this. And the tilt depends on kind of the size of the canvas. You might not want such a big tilt, but I do like the paint to get, move down relatively quickly. I don't want it to just be, getting all bunched up and having if you have just a very slight tilt, the paint doesn't want to flow down the canvas as much. So it takes a little bit of trial and error to do that. That's why I like to hold it. You can adjust that tilt very quickly. But sometimes that's just not possible. So you can play around with the different tilts or different angles and see what works best for you and your canvas size. Another thing you can do, which is kind of fun, is you can tilt your canvas in 2 directions and then pour down one corner, or you're pouring in, let's say, the top corner like this, and it's running down in a diagonal pattern. That can be a kind of a cool way to achieve very interesting compositions. The one right behind me, this one, I did it that way. So I poured down this corner, and it poured in a diagonal direction. And in order to do that, it takes a little bit of creativity. But what you can do is get a larger cup, something like this, and I'm going to put this larger cup in the back here. And then you can use, one thing I like to use are these smaller cups, and you can stack them up. And so you can adjust the height using these smaller cups. And you'll see why in a second. I've already adjusted these, but then this leg is now on the smaller side. So this back corner is the highest. This is a little smaller. And then we have this compound kind of angle, which is kind of cool. And sometimes the canvas wants to fall back down. So you might have to adjust your cup, or you could just kind of hold it there, or you could put something under the bottom leg down here. Normally, I just leave this leg down here floating in the air. But now what you can do is you can test this angle. And in order to do that, I would take a marble, something like, something from your marble roll or something. I have a marble here. And let's see if I don't know why that's doing it. It wasn't doing this before. Let me see if I can adjust this. But, because I kind of need my other hand here. I wonder if I was using a different cup. maybe I was doing that. But what you can do now is take your marble, put it in the corner, roll it, and then you can see where your marble is rolling. And I'll flip the camera. Let's see, what does this look like? It's going to happen fast, but it's rolling. It's going diagonal, but it's going kind of to the center. If I wanted to adjust the angle, I'll put the bigger cup down here. And now if I put this up in the corner and let it go, oops, I lost my marble. It rolled more towards the corner. So it's kind of a cool way to do it. You could also just use a squirt bottle and put a couple drops of water and see how the water streams down the canvas, and adjust your angle that way. The marble is kind of quick and easy. It's a little faster doing it the marble way, but marble's gone. So, but I'll demonstrate this next week. We'll do one of these angled setups, and you can kind of see how that's going to go. Tonight, I'm just going to do kind of a standard one, the easier one. So there's all kinds of ways you can modify and change up the waterfall pour, which I think is very, very cool. And so I'm going to take these cups and move them over here. I'll probably use these later. And I've got these larger cups, so you could change the height just with the different size cups. You could go, this is quite a steep angle. The paint will really kind of fly down this one. Or you can go a little more of a shallow angle, something like this. And this is probably what I'll end up using. Now, the other thing you can do is you could start out on the cups like this. I'm going to move these back a little here. And just pour, if you're pouring 2 cups at once, you can do that. And then an easy way to get this down is if you just lift up the back of the canvas, slide it forward, and then you can easily lower it down. You don't have to remove the cups. Just make sure you have a little extra room, and you can just very easily, whoops, I'm not on my cup. You can very easily just lift your canvas, slide it forward, and then lay it down. We want to do that pretty quickly so we don't lose a lot of paint falling off that tilted edge. So I think that'll all make more sense once we get into the demo. But so that's a little bit about setup. That's a little bit about, how this technique is performed. And of course, I'll walk you through the whole thing as we do it live in our demo. So I'm going to move this aside for a second here, and I'll go over the colors with you that I'm going to be using. And let me move some of these paintings. And pull this over here. So I'm going to use kind of a simple color palette. And as far as the color theme for this month, I was thinking about different things you could try. And one kind of idea that I thought would be good or fun to try out is to do gradations of color or gradations of value. So, and gradations basically mean you're going from light to dark or dark to light. So the simplest gradation would be white, maybe 2 versions of a gray. So light, like a light gray, a medium gray, and black. So that is a very simple gradation of value. And, how you layer your cups, you can end up with some very cool color schemes and compositions. Another way of looking at gradation is gradation from color temperature. So you could go from a warm palette to a cool palette, and I'm kind of doing that in this color palette that I have here. Or you could do a combination of the two. You could go from a color temperature gradation as well as a value gradation. So you could start with a warm color that's very light and kind of move up into a cool color that's very dark. That's kind of what I'm doing. I'm doing kind of a modified one like that tonight for our demo. So, but you could look at the color wheel and move from, this would be a very simple gradation of color. And the one I'm going to be doing tonight is kind of a yellow-orange. So I'll be moving from like yellow-orange to red red-violet to violet, and then I'm going to have a black in there too. So it's kind of moving just around the color wheel. That's also known as kind of an analogous, or not an analogous, but yeah, an analogous color scheme. So you're moving just around the color wheel. So you're moving from warm to cool, or you could be moving from cool colors to warm colors, vice versa, however you'd like to try it out. But so I just thought a kind of a gradation color theme would be kind of fun. You could also do this with just one color. So you could work, if you're using blues, you could work with very, very light blue to very, very dark blue, and then have a couple steps in the middle there. And of course, you can always throw in like another color. So you could have like a very light blue, you could have kind of a middle blue, you could have a very dark blue, and you could also throw in gold or something like that if you wanted to, or silver. So you don't have to strictly stay with one color. You can have fun and play around with it. But basically what we're working with is a range of either value, so lights to darks, or temperature, warms to cools, or vice versa, or a combination of the two. So it's kind of a very broad, color theme, but I thought it'd be kind of fun to work with. And so I'll show you the colors we'll be working with today. Let me pull them out of here. And take the tops off here and move my little tray out of the way. And I'll flip the camera in just a second and show you what we've got. And I'll just check the comments here. I see a lot of jokes. That's funny. And let's see here. And John is asking, what if you poured everything while the canvas is flat and then lift it? Would that still be considered a waterfall pour, or considered a waterfall? That could be interesting. I think the only problem with that is if you're pouring in the center of your canvas, or you could even be pouring on one end and then lift it, you're going to get a lot of blending of color, and it's going to be a different looking design. Although it would be a very interesting to try that out. I've never really tried that actually, but that might give you some very cool results, Donna. So give it a shot and see what happens. That would be kind of like a reverse waterfall pour, I guess. You could call it that. But that's a great idea. And okay, so here we go. Let me flip the camera. And here we are. I've just got, these are all very simple colors, just straight out of the tube. I didn't do any custom colors or anything. I started with some gold, and that's kind of a yellow, a yellow orange. This is a red. This is my Pyro Red, which is my favorite from Liquitex, Pyro Red. And then I've got a crimson here. And this is crimson, and it's a crimson from Master's Touch, which is kind of a nice color. So we're going from kind of a light, and this is also kind of light, but it's darker. It's a darker value than our gold, into a darker red. And then we're going to a purple, which is kind of it's right on the brink of a red violet. It's got some red in there. And then we've also got black. So this is kind of a warm to cool gradation, and it's also a light to dark gradation. And I'll show you where is the purple? Here's the purple. It's a metallic purple from Blick. I really love this color from Blick. They have a beautiful metallic purple. And then this is just black from Artist Loft, the old Flow acrylic black from Artist Loft. And then the gold is just regular. I think I used just the Artist Loft old gold for the gold. So I think it should be an interesting painting, an interesting color palette. And I've done some waterfall pours that were similar color similar color schemes before. So we'll see what happens with this one. But I haven't done a warm painting in a long time. So normally I'm always reaching for the blues and the purples and greens even. But I haven't done a red or crimson for a long, long time. So I'm excited to see what happens with this warmer palette. And let's see, I'll put this back. And again, this is just the easy formula. 2 parts Floetrol, 1 part paint, and then some water to get the right consistency. These are all just a small mound, slight mound when the paint streams off of the stir stick. So I'm going to put these over to the side here, and we'll layer our cup, and then I'll set up the canvas for our tilt. And let's see, let me get this stuff out of the way. And I need to do a little moving of paintings that I have here. Okay, I think that's good. And I've got my cup ready to go. So this is 10 ounce, or I think it's a 12 ounce cup, but we need 10 ounces of paint for a ring pour on a 16 by 20 or straight pour on a 16 by 20. So I've marked my cup, and we're going to layer this. And I'm going to layer it probably 2 layers of each color. And I'm going to go just how I laid them out, just from lightest to darkest, warm to cool. And we'll see what happens with our waterfall pour. So I'm going to start with the gold and just put a fairly good layer in there. I'm trying to judge and just estimate what 2 layers would be. And here's that's our pyrrole red, and go to our crimson. And this is just the standard floating layers. And then I'll go to the purple. And then I'll go to the black. So I am layering these all as a gradation, light to dark, warm to cool. And I'd say the fewer layers, usually the better, and the clearer they come out, I think. So I like to, when I'm doing a larger painting like this, kind of limit the layers to maybe 2 or 3. So I'm going to go back to the beginning and put the gold in. And of course, you could use more gold or more red, less of other colors if you want. They don't all have to be the same amount. Here's our red, here's our crimson. There we go. And our purple. And our black. And we'll end with the black. And that's it. We ended up, I was pretty good with estimating. So we've got 2 layers all ready to go. I'm going to set this aside. And I'll move, where's my tray? I'll just take my tray and I'll move my paints in there. And get them out of the way. So let's set up our, let me flip back here. Let's see. I'm going to set up the canvas. So I have got my canvas here. I think I'll just I'll go with the cups and show you how that works out. And see, I'm going to flip the camera and so you can see the paint streaming down. Let's see here. I think that's pretty good. So we've got our angle. I'm going to start up here and I'll start pouring. I'm probably going to just do a straight pour. You could do this as a straight pour or a ring pour. You could put the swirl in there. You could do a combination of the two. You could go back and forth and do that kind of layered pour. I'm not exactly sure what they call that. I'm sure it's got a name or 10, but kind of that jiggly pour. So there's a lot of ways you can pour the paint. I'm just going to probably pour it in a thin stream, kind of standard straight pour style, and we'll see what happens. And move this over there. Let's flip the camera. Oh, the base coat. Donna, thank you so much. I almost screwed that up. Yeah, we got to put a base coat on here. My gosh, I'm getting ahead of myself. So, woof, that would have been terrible. So thank you, Donna. So yeah, I'm going to put a base coat on. I've got some black. I'll probably just use the black. And I've got some of the crimson. I'm not intending to do any kind of negative space with this one. So I'm just going to use a couple different colors. I'll scrape out my cup. And we'll spread it around. I think that might be enough. So you could do negative space pours with the waterfall pour. The tilting would be slightly different, and we'll take a look at that as we go. But in that case, I would definitely use a color that's in your layered cup. That makes it a whole lot easier to get a cool kind of negative space. And again, this is just kind of a thin layer. You don't need a real thick layer. And almost there. I might need a little more. I'm going to put a little red on there. Make it a little. This will actually be kind of a cool looking base coat. All right, almost got it. And there we go. That looks great. Okay. Move my cups down and just wipe my knife. Now we can set up our angle and get to our pouring. So take my cups and set them underneath my rings. And normally, again, I would, an easy way to do it, it might take a little bit of practice, but just holding the canvas up like this is how I normally do it. But we're going to try out the cups and see what happens. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to flip over to the side camera now. And there we go. So you'll be able to see the paint right here. I'm going to maybe move this just like that. Oh, come on. All right, we're in good shape. Cool. So let's go ahead and pour. Now, again, every time you do a straight pour or a flip cup or a ring pour, sorry, you have the option of pouring out of either side. This is the side I layered all the paints in right here. I think I'm going to pour out of the opposite side, though. I like the way that usually looks. So, but either one works really well. Let's go ahead and see what happens. And here we go. So I'm just aiming for the top, like the center of the top of the canvas. I'm just pouring in a thin stream. And you could add a little twirl if you wanted to. I'll just add a little bit of a twirl there. And go back to just a straight pour. Now as the paint moves down, I'm probably going to lift this and move it forward. I'm getting close to the end of my cup though. But I'm probably going to lift it and then slide it forward so I can slowly lower it down so I don't pour all that paint off the edge. There we go, and I'm at the end of my cup. That looks pretty good. So I'm just going to grab this last little drop and then pull it back, and we've done it. We've got our waterfall is on there. I'm going to switch the camera angle, and then you can see what it looks like from the top. And it looks pretty good so far. I really like our gold. And again, the first color you put in is usually the last color to come out with a layered cup in a straight pour or a ring pour. So we do have the gold center, which I really like a lot. We've got a lot of interesting color combinations happening. So far, I like it a whole lot. Now it's time to do the tilting. And the tilting process is a bit different for the waterfall pour because we have this elongated paint puddle. It's already covering the entire length of the canvas. So we have to just kind of rock this puddle back and forth to expand it just across, this area. So what I like to do is just get it started slowly. You could kind of tilt it back and forth a little bit, but just start going in one direction, like towards you. And you could go all the way if you wanted to, or you could, I like to just turn it and then tilt it back towards me from the other direction. And you can take your time. I typically do this rather slowly. I don't like to go really, really fast with the expanding of the paint puddle. But we're basically trying to do the same thing. Just expand the paint puddle without going over the edges yet. So that's worked pretty good. And then I'll just turn it and then go back the other way. Now, if you're trying to do the angel wing pour or the wing pour and keep the symmetrical look, that is very difficult to do in doing any type of a tilting. So if that was your focus or your goal was to do a wing pour, I would probably turn that into like a negative space pour, use less paint, a little bit less paint, kind of pour it down the center, do slight tilting kind of back and forth, and be very careful, but that's about it. It's very, very difficult to keep that beautiful symmetrical look pattern in the paint puddle. It's really, really hard. So I don't really try to do those too often, just because it's kind of a losing battle. It's so difficult to do, but they can look very cool. The other thing you could do, and I forgot to mention this, if you're trying to do a wing pour or a angel wing pour, what can help you a whole lot is to use a different format of a canvas. and I had this here and I forgot to grab it. If you use one of these, like 12 by 20, a very long, narrow canvas, these work much better if you're trying to keep that symmetrical pattern in your paint puddle. So this is what I would recommend if you're trying to do that kind of symmetrical pour. Something like this will work a lot better than more of a bigger rectangular canvas like this one. So we've expanded our paint puddle. It's looking pretty good. Now it's kind of the typical choose a corner and pour off and cover the edges and the sides. And again, it's kind of up to you which corner to choose. I've got a lot of paint right here. I think I'll go for this one first, and we'll see what happens next. So I'll just kind of let the paint move on over there. And I don't want to lose a lot of that gold, so I'm going to use my finger to just kind of get that last little bit and then tilt back in the opposite direction. So we've got one down. Now, the other thing you could do, if you want a lot of like diagonal movement or diagonal, like a diagonal composition, you could go to the opposite corner over here, and that will kind of shift all the lines a lot. Or you could, if you wanted more of a little less of a diagonal and just more of a curvy look to it, you can go over to this corner next. I'm not sure what I want to do. I think it might look kind of cool to have kind of a diagonal, composition to this one. I'm going to go off of this one next here. Why not? So it might take a minute for the paint to get down there. But it's moving. And we've got some cells happening, which are kind of cool. A little bit of the purple or the black and the gold kind of blended together a bit, and it's creating kind of a pretty green color, which I kind of like. So here we go. It's moving. It's coming. I'll just use my thumb to kind of pull that paint over the corner, help it along the last little bit there. And okay, so we got two down. I think I'm going to go to this corner next. And it kind of reminds me of a sunset a bit at dusk. I really like the purple and that crimson together. So I'm just letting that paint come on down there. It's moving a little slow for some reason. It's moving a little quicker now. All right, almost got it. Okay, so last one. I'm going to just hold this up and just kind of let that paint slowly kind of shift back down the canvas. And sometimes this can help to kind of move the like your paint in kind of a more even, like a more even layer. So I don't have a real extreme tilt on this right now. Just kind of letting it kind of slowly meander over down the canvas here. But you can, if you look closely and carefully, you can see it moving, which is kind of cool. So I'm going to get a different angle and we'll get the last corner and then we'll take a look at it. And this is the time where the patience comes into play. And it's hard to be patient when you're on camera, though, with a bunch of members watching you. But we just have to wait for the paint, I guess. And it's moving now down here. And I'm changing the angle a lot. I don't want a great big like bead of paint, like a big drip of paint. I kind of want to keep it a little more even as we kind of move this down here. We're getting, it's getting close. All right. I'm surprised it's moving this slowly. I don't think I needed any more paint on here. But it's coming along. Okay. Home stretch. I think we got it. Just check. All right, so we've covered it. Now I'm going to do the opposite. I'm just going to lift the canvas up on the other end and just let the paint kind of run back down. I got a mist spot right here. Oops. Okay. So we just want to shift. We had all that paint down in that corner. I just want to shift it back and just bring that gold back down into the composition a little bit. But all in all, I like it quite a bit. Okay. So I think that is probably going to be it right there. And I'm quite pleased because we're able to achieve kind of a gradation of color and a gradation of temperature, kind of like what I was hoping we could do. So we've got the gold kind of merging into the red, merging into the crimson, and then into the purple and black. And then down here is kind of the second layer, and it's all kind of blended together a bit more, but I really like this kind of wild blending. So the only thing I probably could have done is added a little more paint to my cup, because it seemed very slow to move around. But I know I had the consistency correct. It was all the same consistency. So maybe just a little bit more paint would have been helpful. But I quite like it. So I'm just wiping my hand off here. And I think the orientation for this one would definitely be probably a portrait format, a vertical format like that. I'll zoom out a little bit. So I think that's a pretty nice orientation. So I like that quite a bit. It would also maybe look kind of cool flipped the other way. Something like that. So that turned out nice. I like it. And this is very much the way a lot of the waterfall pours turn out, with these really nice, big, wide rings. And that all happens because we're starting with that big, long band of paint running down the whole length of the canvas, and then just kind of going back and forth while we're tilting. They're always a little bit different, which I like a lot. But this is very similar to a lot of the ones I've done. Just the overall look I'm talking about. And I like this a lot because with ring pours and straight pours, you'll always have that center, which can be great. The center of your rings, the center of your straight pour. But a lot of the times I like to tilt that off the canvas. So I think the composition that you get with a waterfall pour, for my taste, is even better than the ring pours or the straight pours, how you normally do them. So I really love what's happening up in here. All those blending of colors. It's very cool. So I'm quite happy with that one. So I'm going to flip back here, and I'm going to turn this way. And let me flip back and see if there are any questions And let's see here, I'm going to scroll back up. Thank you all for being so patient during that whole tilting process. That was long. It seemed really long to me, but thanks for all your patience. And I'm so happy you like it. So that's all so great. So thanks for the great comments. And I see someone is thinking about prizes for the upcoming art show. So great forethought. All right. Let's see here. Oh, okay. I appreciate this, Susan. Susan says, you're teaching us patience. That's great. It can be hard to learn that sometimes, but it's well worth learning. Thanks, Susan. Appreciate that. So, all right. Well, thank you all. Well, if are there any questions that you might have about the process or the colors? Again, the way I set these colors up was kind of a warm to cool idea, starting, and you can just look at the color wheel and kind of pick some colors, and they don't have to be all in order. So I started with the gold, which I love, of course, and that was kind of a yellow or yellow orange, and then the red, and then I went to like a darker red, and then like a red violet or a violet, and then of course black. So that was like a light to dark value range, light colors to dark colors, and then also warm colors to cool colors. And that could work with a wide range of colors. You could start with like a yellow green and work your way through yellow green into like blue green or turquoise, into darker, like a dark blue or something like that. So there's a whole bunch of different ways you could apply this gradation idea to your paintings. So I think for all the demos I do next week, I'll kind of keep the same color theme in mind, create some different types of gradation color palettes, and we'll see what we get. They can be very fun to work with. And the most important thing to probably think about is using a fewer layers in your cup rather than more layers. So like some larger layers of each color, and then maybe keep it to 2 to 3 layers max. And then you can kind of get that more gradation effect when we pour. So, and that can work for also regular ring pours, regular straight pours, things like that. So, but this one turned out really nice. So I'm quite happy with it. And then next week, I think we'll do some variations. I'll set up that double tilt, that two-way tilt with the marble, and you can kind of see how that works. And then I'll do maybe one with the, I'll set up one painting with the DecoArt pouring medium, so you can see kind of a minimal cells painting, maybe one with the glue base and some silicone or the coconut oil. We'll give it a torch, see if we can make some cells appear. That should make Pat happy, I hope. And so we can kind of figure out maybe what happened with that one. I'm thinking I have to use a little more paint with that, just because we don't want to overstretch the paint before we torch it. So that would be kind of cool. And then maybe we'll try maybe a cloud waterfall as well. That would be kind of fun. That's like this one behind me is that cloud effect waterfall. And that can be very cool as well. So, all right. Well, I don't think I see any other questions. So thanks so much for joining me. I hope you like this technique. Give it a try. I think you'll enjoy it a lot. You can play around with the different angles and try these different types of gradations, and let me know what you think. So thanks, everybody. I will see you Friday for our Friday demo. And guess what? I'll probably do another waterfall pour. So we'll do even another variation. So thank you so much, everyone. I will talk to you Friday. Have a great rest of your week. Take care. I'll talk soon. Bye-bye.